They came in their thousands.
There's Park City, Utah.
Hundreds of thousands of women
Chicago.
and men
California,
turning out in
and more.
D.C. with a
And
message
in Donald
for our
Trump's
new
stronghold
president.
in
Mike
red
Doe is live in
states,
D.C.
Minneapolis,
with more.
Stream to the nation's
and
capital. They just kept coming.
10,000
Wave after wave of people getting off the subway, off buses, coming from cars. You couldn't move around in the National Mall. You couldn't get a cell signal. The women who marched out here chanted, "We won't go away. Welcome to your first day." Obviously directed at the president. Some woman said the message.
If you don't get in line with the people and with the Democrats, then be careful for your reelection, right? We're going to be there. We're not going to let him forget what's going on at all. Like we're going to watch where he stands with the people, and if it's not with us, if it's not with the people, we will be out there making sure that we make his reelection incredibly difficult.
And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything, fuck you.
What do you make of her message?
I think that this is incredibly powerful and important. And the fact that there are so many people who are out there who suddenly feel like they have, as she was saying before she dropped the F-bomb, that they felt like, you know, at the end of the day, these are Hillary Clinton supporters I'm talking about, that good would triumph over bad, and that didn't happen, that was a wake-up call on Election Day.
One advice that I would give to Donald Trump, and this is the only advice that I would give to him, if you have issues with your own civil rights kind of record, you do not go after a civil rights leader because you will lose every time. Yeah. And so I hope that, I mean, to the point that Joan was making, I hope Democrats see this today, and they on the Hill, and they see this and they realize, okay, we have the support. We have the support from the people, and we need to come out and fight and use our procedural power as much as we can in every way to stop what's going on.
But if the Senate and the Congress, you want them to do something, does it make sense that the Democratic Congress people, 68 of them, didn't show up? Doesn't that tell you they're not going to work together?
I don't think that's what that means.
Tillerson has a $500 billion deal with Exxon that got tanked by President Obama. So he has a $500 billion incentive to be able to make this deal with Russia. And guess what? Now we've put him in a position where he can.
When Hillary was in the State Department and Bill made a fortune and they sold 25% of the United States uranium to Russia.
You know, I get very frustrated when I hear people say Clinton wasn't radical enough, she wasn't strong enough. Virtually everything in this platform, the March on Washington platform, was in Hillary Clinton's platform. I mean, the problem was, on the economy in particular, her message wasn't getting out there. Yep. And if you go to her speeches, it's not that she wasn't talking about it. It's that we didn't cover her speeches the way we covered Donald Trump, unless she was bashing Trump. The news media turned away from the meat in her speeches. People didn't hear what she stood for except anti-Trump.
This march was conceived as a celebration of women, and of one woman in particular, Hillary Clinton. But after the surprising American election, it quickly became a protest, and a protest against one man in particular, Donald Trump.
We want to bring in now two of the organizers for today's march. Is this connected to Mr. Trump's presidency? And if so, how do you feel that Donald Trump has made you invisible?
Frankly, this is bigger than Donald Trump. This is bigger than this administration, right? And it's more about what we are for than what we are against.
What do you want to happen?
Well, President Donald Trump's inauguration is the biggest event of the week here in Washington, in fact, in the country, but it's not the only event. Tomorrow, the mall will see the Women's March on Washington, which is intended to send a message of some kind to the president on his first full day in office. Organizers say the event is open to women of all backgrounds. But that pledge does not extend to all women, actually, including a pro-life feminist group, which has been barred from participating because they have the wrong views on abortion.
Americans should really be figuring out where are they going to stand, because as we are increasingly a diverse country, when we are learning the laws, when we are trying to participate, and we have an administration that is hostile to participation, we have to be adamant and make sure that we are not going to let this happen, because our democracy is as strong as our participation.
We're joined now by Destiny Herndon de la Rosa, founder of New Wave Feminists. Destiny, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
I just want to be clear that I understand the story, that we're not mischaracterizing in any way. You are, of course, a woman. You presumably are opposed to Donald Trump, like most of all the women in this march, but you are opposed to abortion. And on that final point, you were dinged from participating. They said you can't come because of your view on abortion. Is that right?
Yeah, that evidently women can be anything they want except pro-life.
Because they're marching for their rights. We want to know, what rights don't these women have?
Is there something about Donald Trump that evokes what we're seeing behind us, this huge reaction in women?
Yes.
And is it really just as simple as him being vulgar on an Access Hollywood video?
No, not at all. I mean, if you look at what the Republicans and the Trump administration are doing right now, they're planning to defund Planned Parenthood. Number one, they're not a friend of women at all. They, in the $10 trillion plan that's coming out, that's supposed to work on the deficit. In that plan, they are including wanting to get rid of the Office of Violence Against Women. And that is incredibly, it would be daunting and awful if they were to do that, because they have programs that support women with domestic violence, dating violence, and this is what they're doing right now. And so they're being hostile. They're putting together an administration that is going to be hostile against women.
If Donald Trump were to do something positive, would you give him credit for it, or do you just hate the man?
I never said I hated anyone.
You can't answer the question because you hate the man.
It's not that we hate Trump, but we hate what he stands for, you know, and bigotry and racism, we're not going to stand for that.
What has Donald Trump done that convinces you that women's rights are in jeopardy?
Well, he's filthy, he's vile, and he says nasty things.
Well, didn't Bill Clinton, wasn't he impeached for actually doing nasty things?
Is it okay that a man who wants to be the president of the free world is bragging and admits to it? And yes, he's apologized.
Yeah, well,
to
that's wrong.
assault.
Okay.
Sex offenders can't live in government housing. All right. Are they living in government housing?
I think they just moved in yesterday.
So you're talking about Donald Trump?
Yes.
Or we're talking about Bill Clinton?
And it was about more than women's issues. This was a repudiation of the Trump worldview.
The president is not America.
President Trump takes office as the most unpopular new president ever. Today's march put faces to that fact.
Well, you know, he apparently has a method of ignoring all realities around him, but these numbers, what we're seeing today, are important to history, Joy. It is official now. This is the biggest inaugural protest in history.
And what you see here is a giant grassroots gathering. You can see for yourself the size of this crowd. It's a very diverse crowd. I'm seeing a lot of varying ages, moms, kids. I even saw a woman carrying her baby. You see women who marched in the 1970s for equality then, and they are back here doing it now. Organizers here anticipate 250,000 plus women, with 600 sister marches happening in cities across the country.
That demonstration right there, we had a much bigger demonstration than that. 1,000, 1,000,000 times bigger than that. On November 8th, we had a demonstration.
When American people came to vote.
They went to the polls and they voted for Donald Trump. That's the real demonstration.
So we have a photographic representation comparison. Okay, this was the mall, the National Mall yesterday for Donald Trump's inaugural. You can see all that empty space there, little pockets of sort of dark color. That is the people. All right, and now let's look at today. Producer says this isn't the National Mall. This is sort of what we're looking at now, right? Can you guys give me the streets where we are right now? I think this is near the Capitol. We are at North Capitol.
Museum right there.
So that is the mall. It is the mall. Okay, that is the mall.
In solidarity, they protested around the world. In London, a march that began on the doorstep of the American embassy was joined by 100,000 people, from the famous to the frail. They marched also in Paris today, and in Sydney, and in Nairobi. In Washington, the protests surpassed President Trump's inauguration crowd, a slap in the face to a man who cares about size.
Why do you think Trump triggers that kind of, I mean, we get it in this country because a lot of women feel robbed of the White House. What is it about around the world?
I think they feel threatened, and they're also coming out to do something for us. You know, the perception is the American people help others, and they're coming out to support us.